This being Halloween season, if there were any suspicion of a Dark Lord being undercover among us, we can agree that it was merely a Halloween costume and nothing more. Who likes stickers? I got stickers here for later. Okay. So welcome. My talk is the future featured framework of Fuse, from JavaScript to slick native mobile apps. My name is Kylo. Excuse me. My name is. Who put this here? Okay. My name is Wren Reynolds, and I'm a senior software engineer at the js.la Office of IT. And I work on iPhone and Android apps. That's my primary focus. So what I wanted to talk about, first, before I get into discussing this framework, I wanted to first find out of the crowd here tonight, who are developers, first of all? Hands up. Wow, okay. Vast majority. And who would consider themselves like a designer kind of person? Okay, so we have a few. So out of those of you in the audience, who has made an app before, like a mobile app before? Okay, so there's a few there. What were some of the frustrations and pain points that you kind of experienced, if you would like to share that, of the experience of making an app? Would anybody like to? Xcode. Yeah, Xcode is a huge pain. There's a lot of different steps in there. What? NPM? Oh, lack of NPM. Yeah, nice package manager. What were some of the things you enjoyed about that process? Was there anything you liked? It's a good one. So have any of you used any frameworks that are used, like JavaScript frameworks, like Cordova, React Native, Ionic, any of those? Okay, great. So same thing, like good things, bad things, if you'd like to discuss those, maybe? Webview fragmentation. Oh yeah, that's a big one. Anything that has a web view, if it's going to embed a web context inside of the app, then the device you're running on will dictate that context, and it can mess with a lot of things. Okay, so some interesting points there. So what I wanted to talk about and show right now are some examples of some of this kind of future stuff that I kind of hinted at earlier. So there's this framework, it's called Fuse, and they've got a lot of examples of all these different kinds of things that you can do with it. And let me just show a couple of these real quick. So the first one I'm going to show is an angled navigation example. So let me just switch over to that on both of these devices that I have here. Let's see if that works. Okay, so this is an iPhone 6 Plus, and then this is a, wait, I'm going to try to work that, okay. So if I can swipe, yeah. So if you swipe between these, it does this really cool animation. This is something that would be very hard to do in any kind of web context. This is all written with JavaScript and this custom markup called UX markup. So this is an Android phone that I'm showing here. And so if you can see that, it looks pretty much identical. And let's see, there's a lot more of these I can go through really quick. Actually, I'm just going to step through them in the apps. So next one is this swipe gesture one. It's on the Android device. So you can select between these different places, and you can swipe between them. And I don't know if it's showing up there, but the animation is like 60 frames per second. It's extremely smooth, extremely fast. Same thing on this iPhone. Okay, since these all look the same, I'm just going to show one of them to get through this a little quicker. Don't have a lot of time. This is an e-commerce UI that does like a 3D effect when you go between them. And here is a pull to refresh. Some rotation going on there. This is a big example of a rotating sidebar. I want to get that reaction again. Let's do it on Android. Cool. Okay. Let's see, another one. This is a sign-up flow for users signing up for logging in. Very secure credentials there. Let's see. Done. Yeah. So it's transitions between them. Really smooth scrolling, too. Let me see. This is a weather app. So you can swipe between the different views of the weather in Oslo, Norway. The company that builds this is based in Norway. I don't know if you can see clearly on this, but there's a really cool transition between the different sections. And then, yeah, so those are some examples of some of the cool things that you can do with it. So now I'm actually going to talk about the platform itself. So the platform is called Fuse, and what it is what is this weird view it's doing? Okay, there we go. So it has all these different features about that are optimized for like creating a good UX and also minimizing the amount of code that you use, and also everything that you do, it generates native code. And it also has a workflow that is a real-time workflow. What I mean by that is that you can do something, change something, and it will change in real time. So I'm going to see if I can do that right now. So I have an example here of the, where is it, circle menu. So this is the source code for the circle menu. And I think I changed something already. This is supposed to be 100. So there's going to be a menu in the corner of the screen that shows up. And this actually will update wirelessly over the network, the app. Make sure I have this open. Okay. Reconnect. So this is connecting over the Wi-Fi. Oh, it worked. Cool. All right. So this is what it looks like. Oops. All right. This is what it looks like normally. And if I hit this button, this little menu is going to, is that, okay. So this menu kind of opens and animates out like that. Okay? And same thing on Android. Actually, that screen is a lot brighter. I should change that. So yeah, it does the same animation effect. So if I go over here and I change my source code, so this circle is like really huge, it should update instantly. So now I made that height like 300 instead of 100. So boom, it's gigantic. Like a certain thing that blew up at the end of a movie that I'm not going to talk about. So yeah, so there's an example, a very quick one, of the real-time kind of preview update capability. And it works over your network. All you got to do is make sure everything is on the same network. And you build it once, and it'll do that live updating. So along with describing some of these technical features, I'm also going to show you an example of a real app that I worked on and I built at UCLA that was using the Fuse framework. So let's see here. Describe that. UX markup. So there's two parts to a Fuse app. There's, does that show it? No, it doesn't. So there's the UX markup, which is this XML language that I showed you a second ago. There's like all these XML tags. There's your app tag. Is that legible to everybody? Can everybody read that? OK. So you have your panel, and you have components embedded inside of that panel. And then this dictates your animation, your UI component, like where they lay out on the page. It also dictates like gestures and different like touch interactions with the UI part of it. And this is all XML, like I said, with all these custom tags and custom attributes that you can specify. And then, in addition to that, there is JavaScript. So the JavaScript handles your business logic, and it follows the same kind of module export sort of format that you may be used to if you're familiar with like Node, for example, the common JS kind of style, where your JavaScript exports a specific thing that is accessible outside of that JavaScript scope. And then if I want to use that JavaScript in here, then I just have a tag that references it. And now this will be available to that. They'll be linked together. So that's sort of a quick overview of how these things, UX markup and the JavaScript. And yeah, so something nice about the way this whole thing is built is that the JavaScript and the UX markup, everything about them is completely separate. And what I mean by that is there are no interactions like of threads in JavaScript. Like if you go to a web page, it can just stutter, it can load, it can slow down, and everything is going to lag on the UI end. The way this is designed, it doesn't do that. It's completely separate. And they communicate with each other through observables, which, if we have enough time, I'll make sure we do have enough time, we'll do a fun little quick exercise to demonstrate the power of that concept of observables. So that was preview tooling. OK. This is all just technical stuff, not too exciting. Oh, so by the way, this compiles to native code. So that also means that you can inject native code into your app if you want to with their foreign code features. You can have an Objective-C or a Java code block whenever you want if you have something that is native specific that is not a library plugin that they have available. Let's see. OK. So I think that was, oh yeah, I wanted to quickly go over this app that I made for UCLA. So this is an app for a project called Code for the Mission, which is a app contest. And this was the app for judges to actually evaluate the different entries in the contest. So I have a version of it here in a Fuse simulator, but I also have it running on this device here and this device here as well. So yeah, everything that you're going to see there is going to be what you see in the app too. So this, let me actually put this on the same screen as the code, so you can look at that side by side. So this app, it has a main page. It had the login page, and there's an animation that happens when you get to the login page, welcome page. And then here, this is similar to that. There was that example with the weather that I showed earlier. So this sort of uses the same kind of sliding mechanism. And there's like animation on like this arrow. So all these things are smooth 60 frames per second, and they're native. Like they're totally like as fast as you can possibly get in terms of performance. And then this app also has a, let's see. So every app that judges evaluate has 10 scores. And then if you go here, there's actually a custom slider component that was written with UX markup. And this, when you set the score like this, it'll show up here. And then when you've completed everything, it will show up here as, oh, OK, this is your average score for everything. And all of these different views and pages are all linked together with all these different like UX markup tags and things like that. There is also, in this version, it's running locally, but this does interact with a live server. And there are modules that I've written that communicate with that server using I think it's their fetch method, is what it's called, to grab data and things like that and send it and interact with the server. And that's all in the JavaScript side. The UI never has to deal with that stuff. So that was a quick overview of this. Yeah, I'm going through this really, really quick because this was a 2-hour workshop that I did before. So, OK, let's see. Let me get back to my slides here. All right. So for those of you, if you're considering an app, just really quick, I've got a bunch of factors here on deciding when to choose a framework. So those factors are how long it's been around, popularity, how many features, how cool is it, who, if any, are the big backers, and is it open source and how open is it? So out of all of these, I'm just going to ask which one is the most important. So like raise your hand if you think one of these is most important. So how long it's been around? Most important? One person. Popularity? Couple. Features? Okay, features. How cool it is? There we go, couple there. The cool, any big backers that are behind it? And open source and how open it is. Wow, so open source was actually the most popular category out of all of them. That's pretty good to know. And the nice thing is a lot of these frameworks that are out there, like React Native and NativeScript and Fuse also are very open source friendly in a lot of ways. Your code that you generate is your code in pretty much all those frameworks. And some of them, I don't know if NativeScript NativeScript is doing that, but I know React Native and Fuse either are or have plans to release all their main source code publicly. So it's something good to know. So now this is going to be a little hands-on exercise that we're going to do. So how this is going to work. Everybody's seated in rows, right? So the person at this end of the row, you're going to be the data source. Everyone in the middle, you're going to be a mapper. And everyone on the far end over here, you're going to be the UI. So the UI person, if you have like a pen and paper or you have a notepad app on your phone, please get that ready, because you're going to need to write something down here in a second, okay? So I'll give you a few seconds for that. All right. So when I say go, we'll start. So data source, you're going to talk about your experience at js.la, whether it was tonight or whether it was a previous js.la, okay? Just start talking, whatever. Now, everyone in between, mappers, you're going to take the last word of their sentence, and you're just going to say it out loud. And then everyone here, you're going to repeat that word all the way down, and then the UI, you're going to write that word down, okay? So those words are going to keep coming down, and you're going to write all of them down. Does that make sense? And then you're going to try to put those words into a coherent sentence. Okay, is everybody clear on the instructions? All right. All right, ready, set, and go.
Excellent. Event. Also not accepting our LA. From just throwing bits into the ether.
And time. Everyone. Okay, so UIs, I would like to hear what sentences you were able to create after that. So anyone like to volunteer to start?
Guru understand bacon, mine's retailer.
That's a good one. Anyone else? Good positive message there.
Wings, words, wings, code.
I think that's a Zen thing, isn't it? Yeah. Got another one? Anybody else? Cool. All right, so what that exercise was about was communicating the concept of observables. So there is a stream of data. That was the stream. There's a mapper. The mapper transforms and extracts data from that stream. And then the UI actually takes that stream of whatever it is and turns it into something coherent. And so that is the fundamental core concept behind what drives Fuse. Whenever the JavaScript is sending anything to the UI, it goes through an observable. And these things are everywhere in this code. So if I go in like dashboard here. So an example of an observable in use is like when I change this value of this, like if I set this slider and I change the score to 8, then that actually is an observable that passes that all the way down to this view and then to this view. And even to this view, because it'll calculate the score. It'll show the final score here once I've judged all of these. And so yeah, there is a similar, I believe, principle in React, and the idea behind this is, I think it's called functional react. Well, in Fuse, it's functional reactive programming, and it's that idea of being able to set up a stream and observe that stream. So yeah, hopefully that was an enlightening way to learn about that core concept. So I think, am I doing on time? Okay. So what I wanted to end with, because a framework like this has a lot of ways to enhance animation, add a lot of interesting things that you may not notice before when you're creating an app. Being able to observe those things and see what effects they have when you're using an app improves the experience overall, even if it's really subtle. So I have an example of fetching a ride with Uber. And I apologize to the poor Uber driver who I had to cancel on for this example. But so this was a ride at UCLA. And what I wanted to do is just really quickly, I'm just going to play a little bit and just go ahead and observe if you can see what's happening here. So, okay, nothing really major happening yet. Put in a destination. Okay, wait. Let me move this thing out of the way. Okay, so in that little transition, what happened? What were some of the things that you noticed? Would anybody like to describe? Animation-wise? Car was moving, yes.
Something was tapped.
Something was tapped. Yep, that's correct. What was that? Oh, the whole thing, the table moved up, slid up. Did anyone notice that there was this little arrow that transformed? It turned into an arrow. So if you look at, I'm putting the pointer on it, this little dot right here, it turned into an arrow. So there's all kinds of little things like that now you go back to the destination. So a little transform there. Next one. Okay, let's see. Is that what I wanted to look at? Oh, here we go. This is what I want to look at. Okay, so the driver is en route, and then what's going to happen is it's going to show something here. All right, I'm gonna move this playhead thing out of the way. Okay, what happened there? What were some of the animation things that you noticed in that second? Anyone? Car's moving, yes? Yeah, the pin dropped. Yeah, that's true. The whole section expanded and came from the bottom. There was also, this one's also kind of subtle too. There was also, if you look at this text, the car model, they're stacked, and then it animates, they slide together, and the font changes. So there's, oh yeah. Sorry, I had to do it. But yeah, so there are all these little transitions and things that happen, and maybe you may not notice them consciously, but they enhance the overall app experience. And a framework like Fuse And also when you're doing any kind of native app, you can add all that kind of layer of subtle animation and subtle effects that really do have an effect on the experience. Make it feel professional, make it feel like a real, major important app. So with that, I wanted to thank you. And again, Wren Reynolds, that's it. That's it for my talk.
So this is the original Node logo. One little detail that I love is Ryan's website. It's still up today. tinyclouds.org. Inside the logo, there's this little tiny cloud, and that turned out to be incredibly prescient because today, all of our computing systems are running on the cloud, and increasingly we're running in